perspective people, welcome back for another video. Today I am going to be reviewing The Flash now that I've seen it 2 times. I know. With how horrible the movie is doing in the box office, I'm probably contributing to like 2% of the total it's made already. So, with that being said, how was it? But before I go ahead and get started on it, I just wanted to go ahead and casually remind you guys, the world is full of a lot of negativity. Let's do our part in spreading the positivity. So stop the hate, spread the love, and with that, let's get started. Immediately off the bat, I saw the flaws that I had been hearing a lot about, and I couldn't avoid hearing a lot of stuff, right? And so I'm just gonna go ahead and get it out the way. The CGI in the movie at times can be iffy, to say the best, right? And that's that's being completely generous. But seeing how the director is coming out and saying, hey, a lot of the intentional CGI, and you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and include the spoilers. I'm sure you've already heard the reviews everywhere else. So if you're here for my opinion, I humbly thank you for it. So the CGI. And I'm going to go ahead and start talking about the very, very end, because I think that's when the CGI becomes a big elephant in the room. And I'm not even talking about the fight scenes. I thought the fight scenes between Supergirl and Zod and the Flash and everything involved at the very end, yeah, CGI was but it wasn't the worst. I've seen much worse before. I'm sure you have as well. But the one part that I want to particularly talk about is the very, very, very end, where Barry and the alternative Barry begin to realize, who that Black Flash is, who's been chasing him this entire time. And then they go ahead and basically witness the multiverse. And although it was great to see Christopher Reeve and surprisingly Nicolas Cage Superman, which, thanks to the spoilers going around everywhere, we found out a while ago. But it was kind of cool to see. He didn't look as bad as I thought he would have. But again, that's probably because it was mostly CGI. So maybe he looks worse in real life. We will never know. And I hope we never know. With that being said, you see a lot of these different universes there. And, I was kind of wishing that they would have shown Henry Cavill. But again, there's a whole reason why they didn't. Because they pretty much had every Superman except Tom Welling and Henry Cavill's. Henry Cavill's, I fully understand they don't want the fans to basically rise up again, even though they're kind of doing it with this movie. But Tom Welling, I thought, really deserved a cameo in this, because Smallville, growing up, man, Smallville was probably the most influential live-action superhero show. I mean, think about it, right? So you had the character of Superman, and everyone eagerly waited as long as it did to see him become Superman at the very end. And I thought, he deserves his flowers, because he really did carry that show, and I am a big fan of that show. With that being said, Grant Gustin's Flash was also missing. So anyways, back to the CGI part. I really thought that the CGI, the director said it was intentionally left the way it was, because that they wanted to go ahead and have the multiverse just be animated, basically, not necessarily full-on reality. But that was just a weird decision to make, given that it just looked outright silly at that point. I mean, I've played video games. If you play Injustice 2, if you play all these, Batman Arkham, any of the series, even the very first one, which was, I think, released back in I don't know, early 2010s, or was it in late 2000s? I don't know. But point is, that had better CGI than those scenes at the very end. Now, with CGI out the way, let's talk about the story. I actually really enjoyed the story. I knew what the story already was. We've already seen it 1,000 times in the Flash comics, in the Flashpoint movie and everything. Barry feels bad about his father going through everything, so he goes back in time, saves his mom, which creates this alternative reality where superheroes never existed. And then he has to find a way to correct it. That's basically what it is. But it was enjoyable. I liked the humor it had. I liked the action it had. I liked the cameos it had. And I really, really, really liked the homage it paid off to Batman, right? Michael Keaton's Batman, even Ben Affleck's Batman. I thought that was very well balanced. Both of those characters, what I mean is both types of Bruces were very well done, and they were unique in their own ways where you could be like, okay, it's not the same character. And even the action, as I mentioned, I really liked it because it had moments. I liked the whole slowing down everything whenever he's going to the Speed Force, whenever he's about to take off. It was something refreshing rather than just seeing a dashing speed going everywhere, right? Speed of light. And that was refreshing to see. The characters, the actors, including Ezra Miller, I thought they did their parts well. I don't see any complaint there. Um, Again, man, that CGI and his entire controversy, I think that's actually what's killing the movie. Because for me, as someone who went in um, with my walls completely up because I wanted to go ahead and take everything I've heard out the window and go in for myself. And I wanted to do it 2 times because I wanted to kind of see the difference between the both viewings. And one thing I noticed both times, which is not necessarily in the movie but around it, was at the empty theaters. It was very apparent every time I was in there. I think the first time I went, um, maybe half of the theater was full. And then the second time I went, it was even less than that. And I went with my group of friends the second time. And, seeing through it and reading the audience reaction, the audience actually really, really liked the movie. For my group of friends who were not aware of what's going on with Ezra Miller, some of them were, but some of them weren't. And they both alike really liked it. And I'm not saying it was a 10 out of 10 or anything like that, but it was actually very enjoyable to watch. And so if I was to go ahead and give a critic point of view, like I said, CGI was very apparent, especially at the end. The actors did a fine job. The story did a fine job. But the action scenes and the story itself, there weren't anything new. And because of that repetitive nature that all superhero movies just have nowadays, I will go ahead, and because it was relying heavily on nostalgia, as these multiverse movies normally are, I would critically go ahead and provide this with a 7 out of 10. And as a fan, if you're a fan of any of the characters involved, I'm sure you will have a great time if you ever decide to watch it. Because I feel like this is going to be one of those movies that does really bad in the theaters, but will have a high viewing rate once it's out on Max. As a fan, I would go ahead and give it an 8. So at the end, give it a 7.5 out of 10 as an overall score. With that, have you guys seen the movie? What did you guys think about it? Did you like it? Did it meet your expectations? Are you boycotting it? Are you going to watch it on Max? Whatever your thoughts are, leave it in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that post notification bell. Until next time, I hope you guys have a great one.